Hey there, you're right on time. You must know that it's time for another episode of Tired Old Queen at the Movies, huh? I know I'm ready, and I'm sure you are. Now let's go see our best friend in the whole wide world, Steve Hayes, the Tired Old Queen at the Movies.
Johnny! Come on!
Oh, Johnny, I thought we'd go back to Tennessee Williams country, so we're gonna take a look at 1962's Sweet Bird of Youth, starring Geraldine Page, Paul Newman, and directed by Richard Brooks. Now, this play on Broadway was sort of the last of the really famous Tennessee Williams plays. Everybody wanted to do a Tennessee Williams play on Broadway, and this one had he and Geraldine Page. When it comes to films, he had just done the year before, Suddenly Last Summer.
We were decoys.
Decoys?
For Sebastian.
Which is about homosexuality, and he gets devoured.
He used us as bait.
I think Tennessee Williams was kind of wearing thin on his homosexual theme plays, so he thought, I'll just deal with a hustler. Which is basically dealing with the gay theme, but he just made him straight in this one.
Oh, no man.
Newman is in his glory here. He's so gorgeous.
Same time I was employing my other talent, lovemaking.
Now, Page had sort of a checkered time in Hollywood because she came out in 1953 to do Hondo with John Wayne. And he was such a conservative, God, and it was at the time of the McCarthy hearings, and she was very, very liberal. So she sort of squashed her, without actually being blacklisted, she sort of squashed her time making movies.
No place to retire to when you retire from the movies. No place except oblivion.
And she never made a movie again until the previous year to this one, where she did Summer and Smoke, and she was sort of welcomed back in the fold.
They want me?
But during that time, when she was off the screen in the 50s, she made some of her big successes. Summer and Smoke, she replaced Margaret Leighton in Separate Tables, she did Sweet Bird of Youth, she did The Rainmakers. She was considered one of the greatest theater actresses. She always had trouble transferring to film because she was so big. She was amazing on stage, and she's amazing in film, but the camera, you had to pull her back. You just had to pull her back.
But the camera doesn't know how to lie.
The basic plot is that this guy who was the golden boy of this town, he was the diving champion, he was the swimmer, he was from the wrong side of the tracks. And he falls in love with the prettiest, richest girl in this southern town. Her father is Boss Finley, who's played by Ed Begley, and he's a nasty piece of work.
An honest question, Papa? What was your honest answer?
That was mine.
And it's the South, the deep South. So he advises Paul Newman, whose name is Chance Wayne, to try his luck in movies and try to make it, because he's got what it takes.
This year is America. Today you're nobody. Tomorrow you're somebody. But you got to think big, act big, and you'll be big.
Gives him $100 to get out of town. Well, Newman falls on hard times. He plays too hard. He's really beautiful. Everybody wants him. He goes through his money and he starts hustling. He picks up this actress who's running away from Hollywood. She was due to make a comeback. She was very famous in film. She saw her comeback footage. She went to a preview that was disastrous.
She fell. Oh, poor thing. She's drunk. They're all drunk. It's all of them.
And she just started taking drugs and drinking, and she's been running ever since. She picked him up on the road.
I want a drink.
Soon, please.
I want it now.
And he has brought her back to his hometown because he, through blackmailing her, getting a film contract for himself and Heavenly, his girlfriend.
Well, did he know he was giving narcotics to the famous Alexandra Del Lago?
He just knew he was helping a woman suffering from neuritis.
What he doesn't know is that he got Heavenly pregnant. She had a bad abortion while he was gone. And so it's just messy. It's messy. And he hits town and nobody's glad to see him.
I never expect to see you again, not in these hereabouts anyway. Well, just because a man's successful, there's no reason for him to forget his old hometown.
And Geraldine Page, her name is Alexandra Del Lago, but they register her as the Princess Cosmonopolis. And she's totally out of control. She smokes dope like crazy, she drinks like crazy, and she knows she's got a hot ticket with him. And he is her sex slave.
And after this, mercenary young lovers.
Like me?
Yes, like you.
This movie was very provocative, as most of Tennessee Williams were. It's kind of my favorite Tennessee Williams because it's just so kind of trashy, you know, and it's just glorious. Paul Newman is so beautiful, and Geraldine Page will say things to him like,
This much I do remember, that I like bodies to be silky smooth, hard gold.
he keeps trying to get her to call Hollywood and get a contract, and she won't do it. And meanwhile, Boss Finley's son, who's played by Rip Torn, who is Geraldine Page's real husband, keeps threatening Chance and saying, you better not come around here, boy, you're in trouble, you're gonna get in trouble. It's real good old boy Southern stuff. And Ed Begley is just such a pig as Boss Finley. He has his girlfriend Madeline Sherwood, Miss Lucy, he keeps in a hotel, who's a whore. And he goes to see her. He finds out that she has written on a bathroom wall that Boss Finley can't cut the mustard. So he goes over to visit her and he says, I got a present for you. It's one of the most famous scenes. And he holds open a ring and she goes to get it and he snaps that ring on her finger and breaks her finger. Now you go and write on that same thing that Miss Lucy's available for anybody, for any price, anytime anybody wants her. You know, it's really nasty stuff like this. Heavenly gets together with Paul Newman. They're still madly in love. Heavenly's played by the heavenly Shirley Knight, who was just gorgeous and so sensitive and real in this. And their love scenes, her love scenes with Paul Newman are just glorious.
Heavenly will make me feel clean again. She'll wash away all of them.
And it doesn't end well. In the play, in the original play, the censors put their foot down because in the original play, he doesn't get her pregnant. He gives her VD. So she had to have a hysterectomy. And there's a scene at the end of the play when a character is beaten very badly. But in the play, he's castrated. In the movie version, he's just beaten very badly. So the censors sort of put their foot down about this. But, you know, it's got that 60s sensuality. It's got that Tennessee Williams sense of heat and sex.
But I do like to see who it is, so I can make whatever adjustment seems called for.
It's got wonderful Tennessee Williams dialogue, wonderful poetry underneath the lines. Paige is good in this. She's great. She won the Golden Globe for this.
It's a wonderful thing that has happened to me. I felt something for somebody besides myself. You know what that means? That means that my heart is still alive.
Ironically, Paul Newman, whose name was the real selling point other than Tennessee Williams on this, was not nominated for this movie, but he was nominated for HUD the next year, and he had been nominated the previous year for The Hustler, so he was doing okay. This movie has kind of gotten a reputation of being one of the lesser Tennessee Williams movies, but I think it's one of the more entertaining ones. It really kind of moves along. It's trashy and fun, and I think you're just gonna love Paul Newman, Geraldine Page, Ed Begley in an Academy Award-winning performance, Shirley Knight, and Mildred Dunnick in Tennessee Williams's Sweet Bird of Youth. Hot.
Let's all go to the lobby.
He had great nipples, and people never comment that. Golden nipples, Paul Newman.
A treat.
Delicious things to eat.